Evening, everyone. So, Chris is not going to be here tonight. He is suffering off his bed, as I was often told by my grandmother. That was the story. So, he's not feeling so great. If anybody is in there in the chat in the audience, what I thought I would do is let you run the show. Let me get in here so I can see chat. All right. Okay, well, anybody out there? Well, I'm just going to grab a piece of stuff that I wrote on yesterday. So I went to an Orthodox church at the invitation of a new friend of mine, and that was quite the experience. I'd never been to a church like that before, and it was interestingly open, although there was a lot of ritual. Um, I like that they seem to have just such a history that goes all the way back, like to the very, very beginning of the church, and I think that's going to be a fascinating thing for me to study. Not quite sure what to do with all that, though, man. There's so much to look at, and I need to. Well, it's about time to ask God where to focus again. Right now, I'm looking for. Well, I got to get my Bible read, of course, and now that I'm reading it in a new light, I'm reading Carl Jung's Aeon, and that supposedly is extremely terrifying once you finish it. So we'll see if it lives up to all the Jordan Peterson hype. All right. So there was, I'm not going to go very long tonight because I don't do very well. So like this, I've already burned all of my God juice for today. I think it's late. Um, there was one thing that struck me in the middle of church, and it was in the middle of the Orthodox service, and it was something about God, please confirm the foundation of the church. And I thought that was pretty deep. So what would that mean? I mean, if the church, I've always thought of it as, well, a the safety net for civilization. So we don't roll all the way back down the hill, at least as far as civilization wise. So, like many times there would be famines or great upheaval during the world. Let's see, like, what would be a good example? Well, about the time that Martin Luther was nailing up his 99 Thesis, it really unleashed a whole wave of, what would you say? Well, the wars of religion all through there until about the beginning of the Industrial Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars. And so the foundation of the church would be something that would be the strongest stepping stone if, that would actually catch you if humanity started falling down the stairs of progress again. Because I have this concept in my mind where we keep building the Tower of Babel up, and then God comes along and smacks it down. Maybe that's what I should read. I should read Tower of Babel because it keeps coming up in my mind so much. I want to read the King James Version because it was the King James Version that really struck me as meaningful. Genesis. All right, so we got to get out of the garden. Wickedness of men. Oh, was it just right after? Should just search it. This is silly. All right. All right. The Tower of Babel, Genesis 11:1. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. Now, yeah, I thought this was a really interesting concept. One language and one speech means everybody can communicate with everyone. And we're almost there. How distant are we really with Google Translate and all these little devices where we can't just instantly understand each other around the world instantaneously using the internet? That's kind of scary how that fits in. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Could be. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to one another, "Go to let us make brick and burn them thoroughly." Okay, so we're gonna take care with our brick, and we're gonna build up. And they had brick for stone, and slime they had for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. I don't remember reading that bit. I'm gonna have to go compare that to one of the different translations. I don't remember them having a little discussion about the pride of building in the mind of man. Let me read that again. And they said, Go to, let us build a city and a tower, whose top may reach up unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. So they know. They're trying to solidify something. They had brick for stone and slime for mortar. I'm not sure if there's supposed to be something wrong with that or not. I think it's pretty innocent. Maybe I just don't understand it. Okay, let's build us a city and a tower whose top may reach to heaven, and let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad the face of the whole earth. So that would be, well, let's build this great monument to ourselves. It's not really reaching to heaven. Yeah, I always thought of it as that magical fluffy thing in the sky with the rooms made out of clouds. But that's very unlikely that that's what that means. That means they're just building a grand city as high as they can. And they're doing it in order to make sure that they have a name. And that means, what does that mean? Let us make us a name, lest we be scattered about the face of the earth. So, yeah, it's like making a name for one people. Then that's bad and dangerous every time we have monster empires rising. The hand of God smacks us down. Sounds fairly evolutionary, right? I mean, there's if I'm understanding this right, there's a certain Darwinic nature to the rise and fall of civilizations. So one would get too puffed up and unable to control its empire, and it would collapse under its own weight, like the hand of God coming to smush the empire into the floor. So they don't last forever, is the warning. God won't let them. We will always be desirous of building the tower to heaven, and God will always ensure we cannot complete it. Ever. Doesn't work that way. No utopia. Try harder for it, get smashed harder for it. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. That's a creepy line. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them. Which they have imagined to do. Men can think up some pretty creepy stuff. And we thought up nuclear bombs. We thought up bioengineered plagues. And it's those little bitty pieces of God living inside of us that will make sure it is impossible to build anything shining, unified, because we bring our own destruction when we do that. And we imagine anything, including the dark. Wow. Go to, let us go down, and therefore confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad, and from thence upon the face of all the earth. And they left off to build the city. So they quit trying to build it. And they got scattered and can't talk and communicate anymore. What would that mean in today's world? That's scary. And therefore is the name of it called Babel. I wonder how this would feel if you were reading it in like the 1500s. Would it feel as apocalyptic? I think, well, that's a little bit the point because, well, even way back then, we knew something of the inherent nature of our own seeds of self-destruction sown within our own hearts. We've always known it. It's all that leftover reptilian brain and original sin. Therefore, the name of it is called Babel, because the Lord did confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. It sounds like something that we're doomed to repeat or has been repeating a lot. And sometimes it's great big towers of Babel, sometimes it's actual cities, sometimes it's nations and states and empires building their towers too high, unable to maintain control because man cannot be his own master. We rebel. The only way to unite everybody is through God. And the fun thing is, everybody has their own personal God. I think that's right. That's why we're not supposed to go killing each other. We're supposed to find a way to talk so that we can share that little bit of the divine with the person across the seat from us. Yeah, that's such a great metaphor for the rise and fall of civilizations. And how old is that story? How many times has that been witnessed by people? and got written down, and now we want to ignore it. Hmm. Well, I'm pretty spacey, so I think I'm just going to shut it down tonight. I may edit this one and re-upload it later. I've got lots of holes in it and things. Let me see, maybe we'll read one more. Let's go to Luke. I haven't read Luke yet. While I'm looking it up, there it is. I got told this really great method for memorizing things, and that's read your paragraph, look away from the paragraph, lecture to the wall. And so I'm kind of doing that on YouTube anyways. I'm rapidly accelerating my ability to maintain knowledge and say it back. All right, Luke 1. For as much as may have been taken in the hand and set forth in order a declaration of those things which are most surely believed among us, even as they delivered them unto us, which from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word. And it seemed good to me also, having had perfect understandings of all things from the very first, write to thee in order, most excellent Theophilus, that thou might know the certainty of these things wherein thou hast been instructed. All right, so I guess that's Luke's writings home about what he's going to tell about Jesus. And there was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea, a certain priest named Zacharias, in the course of the Ibia, and his wife was of the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth, and they were both righteous before God, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord, blameless. And they had no child because Elizabeth was barren, and they were both now well stricken in years. Yeah, it's tempting to write that bit off of miracle speaking, so to speak, is the necessary mysticism required to make the story seem holy and spiritual. But there is usually something more, because they pick their imagery quite purposefully. I'm convinced, or received it quite, or received it quite purposefully. We'll see. So they were both righteous before God, which seems obvious, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord and blameless. All right. Yeah, like all people. Well, not like all people, but everyone was blameless. And they had no child because she was barren, and they were now both well stricken in years. And then it came to pass that while he executed the priest's office before God in order of the course, according to the custom of the priest's office, his lot was to burn incense when he went into the temple of the Lord. And the whole multitude of people praying without at the time of incense. And there appeared to him an angel of the Lord standing on the right side of the altar of incense. And when Zacharias saw him, he was troubled, and fear fell upon him. He said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayer is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name John, and thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. For he shall be great in the sight of the children of Israel, of the Lord, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink, and he shall be filled with the Holy Ghost even from his mother's womb. Is that different? Well, I guess as they gain knowledge by reading it multiple times, it'll make sense. And many of the children of Israel shall he turn to the Lord their God. Yeah, so I mean, the story is a lot of people turning away from God, and it seems like that's pretty much true now too. And what happened? Well, when Jesus was around, he renewed the church. Yeah, the story of the church itself is a story of how to fix it when it gets broken. It has to be. These things have to be torn down, and well, not necessarily torn down, but the extraneous branches have to be trimmed away at some point in order for the new to grow into something healthy for humanity under the eyes of God. And he shall go before him in the spirit and power of Elias to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. And Zacharias went unto the angel, whereby shall I know this? For I am an old man, and my wife well stricken in years. And behold, thou shalt be dumb and not able to speak until the day of these things that might be performed, because thou believest not my words, which shall be fulfilled in their season. So there's a little bit of a jab there. Angel taking a little bit of revenge. Gabriel said, well, you don't believe me? All right. You don't get to talk for a while. I'm not understanding that one. I'm going to have to revisit that. Too fuzzy headed tonight. All right. Trying to find something meaningful out of here, and I'm just wandering blindly. Maybe that's a sign I should shut it down and get some sleep. Anybody in chat? I've just been babbling to myself this whole time. Let's turn it over to God. Somebody tell me a Bible verse to go read. I hope all of Luke isn't that dry. I thought Mark was pretty meaningful to me. I read that this last week. Oh, I guess this has the whole nativity in it. Yeah, I don't know that I'm ready to dig into that tonight. Yeah, goodness. That seems. Well, there's got to be something in there. My mind's telling me I didn't want to go there, and I'm done a pretty good job of figuring out when I'm on target and when I'm not. So I think I will shut it down. Just kind of randomly babbling at this point tonight. Anyways, I think I've bled myself to death too much. Too much God pouring out of me one time. Got to go put the oil back in the lamp, right? All right. Where do I turn this thing off? Good night, everybody. If you're out there, I appreciate you listening to me babble with myself. Hopefully, next time Chris will be back. Trying to line up some more guests. I always do best with somebody to bounce some ideas off and let their little filter of God do its work and amplify. Good night, everybody.